Hello students, welcome back. So today here we are going to start a new chapter, that is D block elements. So what is D block elements? So you know, in periodic table all the elements are classified into seven, or these are arranged in seven series, that is seven periods, 18 groups and 4 blocks. So that is S block element, P block element, D block element and F block elements. So the S block elements are present at extremely left of the periodic table, and P block that consists of 2 groups, and P block elements that present at extremely right of the periodic table, and that consists of 6 groups. And other elements, the elements which are present in between S block and P block, the elements which are present between S block and P block, that are known as your D block elements. And these D block elements consist of 10 groups. That consists of the D block consists of 10 groups, and starting from group number 3 to group 12. So it consists of 10 groups, and this D block also consists of 4 series. This consists of 4 series. Okay. So the D block elements, these are present in between S block and P block elements, and this consists of 10 groups and 4 series. Okay. Next. So the elements, whenever we write the electronic configuration, the elements whose last electron enter the D subcell, that are generally present in D block, and that are known as your D block elements. So whenever we write the electronic configuration whose last electron enter the D subcell or D orbital, that are known as your D block elements, and that are known as your D block elements and present in D block. Okay. So these D block elements are also called transition elements. These D block elements, these are also known as transition elements. So what are these transition elements? So according to IUPAC nomenclature, or according to IUPAC definition, so transition elements are those which have incomplete electrons in D subcell. So transition elements are those which have incomplete electrons, or which have incomplete D orbitals, which have incomplete d orbitals. So whenever we write the electronic configuration of the elements which contain incomplete d subcell, which contain incomplete d subcell, or which contain incomplete d subcell, are known as transition elements, either in elemental state or in one of its more stable ionic form, either in elemental state or in stable ionic form or common ionic form. Okay, so the elements whose D subcell is incomplete, either the elements with D subcell is incomplete either in elemental state or in one of its stable ionic form, that are known as transition elements. So in this way, generally whenever we consider the elements like suppose scandium, titanium, vanadium, all have d orbitals progressively filled, or d subcells progressively filled by 1, 2 and 3 electrons. So by 1, so in this way these are known as your D block elements, or these are also known as transition elements. Okay. And another thing, these transition elements show transition behavior between more electropositive S block element to least electropositive P block elements. So these elements show transition behavior. Transition behavior between more electropositive s block element and that of least electropositive or electronegative p block elements. In this way, these are known as your transition elements. So whenever I write the electronic configuration of zinc, cadmium and mercury, so they have complete d subshell. So they have d electrons completely filled. So their d electrons are completely filled. So in zinc this is filled by 10 electrons, and cadmium this is filled by 10 electrons, and mercury also filled by 10 electrons. So as the d subshells are completely filled, in this way these three elements are not known as transition elements. These are not transition elements. So zinc, cadmium, mercury, they have different behavior from that of other transition elements, and as they have completely filled d subshell, these are not known as transition elements. But as the last electron entered the d subshell, these are known as your d block elements. Hence, these are studied in d block elements. Okay, so zinc, cadmium, mercury, these are known as d block elements, but these are not known as transition elements because they do not have incomplete d subshell, and they show different behavior also from that of the transition elements. Okay, so these transition elements classified into 4 series. Okay, so these transition elements classified into 4 series, that is first transition series, second transition series, third transition series, and fourth transition series. So this consists of 4 series. So first transition series consists of 10 elements. These are also called 3D series. These are known as 4D series. These are known as your 5D series, and this is also known as your 6D series. Okay. So first transition series, this is present in 4th period, present in 5th period, present in 6th period, and present in 7th period. Okay, so these three are complete series. And this one is incomplete. Series. Okay. So first transition series also known as 3D series, second transition series known as 4D series, third transition series known as 5D series, sixth transition series known as 6D series. This is present in 7th period, and this is incomplete series. And all these contains 10 elements each. So all these contain 10 elements each. Okay. So the first transition series consists of 10 elements. First transition series consists of 10 elements starting from scandium to zinc. That is scandium to zinc. Second transition series also consists of 10 elements. It's starting from yttrium to cadmium. And third transition series consists of 10 elements. So first one lanthanum, then hafnium to mercury. And fourth transition series, it consists of one element, that is actinium, then rutherfordium, and onwards. So in this way, what are the newly discovered? There are newly discovered transition elements. Okay. So the transition elements have general electron. So 4 transition series, but specially here we are going to study about first transition series, which is present in 4th period. Okay. Next come to first transition series. So first transition series consists of 10 elements: scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper and zinc. Okay, so this consists of these 10 elements. You know the atomic number: 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 7, 28, 29 and 30. Okay, so these elements are general electronic configuration NS. The transition elements are general electronic configuration NS 1 to 2, NS 1 to 2, N minus 1D 1 to 10. So this D substance are progressively filled in this configuration is 1 to 10. But this is for 1 to 2. So in some cases the half fill and full fill orbitals are more stable. In this one electron from this S orbital will move to D orbital. In this configuration is Ns 1 to 2, N minus 1D 1 to 10. For example, scandium has configuration argon 3D1 4s2. So 4s2 and 3D1. The valency cell is 4s. Similarly, scandium, it has configuration 3D2 4s2 3D2, and vanadium it has configuration 4s2 3D3. But chromium has configuration argon 4s1 3d5, or we can write argon 3d5 4s1. One electron, as the energy gap between 4s and 3d is very less, in this one electron in this ground state, one electron from this s orbital come to here, and again the half filled orbitals are more stable. So the half filled orbitals, due to more symmetrical, these are more stable. In this electronic configuration, argon is 3d5 4s1, and again for manganese this is argon 4s2 3d5, and for iron 4s2 3d6, for cobalt again 4s2 3d7, for nickel 4s2 3d8, and for copper, so this is the configuration for chromium, and for copper its configuration is argon 3d10 4s1 3d10 4s1 3d10. So argon 4s1 3d5 for chromium. So for valency cell I am writing here, but actually in the configuration you can write argon 19 4s1 3d5. So it has copper has configuration argon 4s1 3d10. Okay, so that is arranged according to alpha principle. And what this D subcell is more stable, as the fulfilled D subcell is more stable due to more symmetrical nature. In this one electron from S is come to here. In this the configuration of copper is this. So for copper this is 4s1 3d10, and for chromium this is 4s1 3d5. In this way, the general electronic configuration of transition element, the first row transition element represented as Ns 1 to 2, N minus 1D 1 to 10. Okay. Next, what are the characteristics of? Next come to what are the characteristics of transition elements. So all the transition elements are generally metals. So all these are named as transition metals because all are in metallic form. They have simple cubic or hexagonal cubic plaque structure. In this way, they have high melting point, boiling point. Except mercury, which is a liquid at room temperature, all other are solids at room temperature. They have more tensile strength, ductile, malleable. These are generally ductile, malleable, brittle in nature, high melting and boiling point. So these transition elements have some other characteristics, like it can form complex compounds, they can form colored compounds, etc. Okay, and they show magnetic behavior, they exhibit catalytic property, so they exhibit they form different alloys. So these are the special properties of these transition elements or D block elements. Let us discuss the general characteristics of D block elements or fast flow transition series. General characteristics. General characteristics. General characteristics of transition elements. So first, atomic radius. Atomic radii. So whenever we move down along a group, so as we move along a group from left to right, generally in general cases what happens, its atomic radius decreases. Why? Due to increase in nuclear charge. So in this case, the atomic radius of transition elements generally decreases. The atomic radius of or atomic radii of transition elements generally decreases from left to right, but this is not regular. So from group 3 to group 6, group 7, from the group 3 to group 7, it generally decreases and then remains almost constant, and then it increases towards the last from 11 and 12, that is from copper and zinc, towards copper and zinc it again increases. So first the atomic radii of this element first decrease, then remain almost constant, and then towards the end increase. Towards the end it increase. So why this happens? So first look here. So they have general electronic configuration part, that is your 4s1 to 2 and 3d1 to 10. So these d electrons are progressively filled. So as the number of electrons increases, the nuclear charge also increases. So due to increase in effective nuclear charge, the atomic radius decreases. That is scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium. Up to chromium, generally it decreases. Okay, so up to chromium, generally it decreases. Then what happens? And then after manganese, so in manganese also same cases, same number of d electrons in chromium and manganese. So first it decreases. So that is due to increase in nuclear charge. Then after, in this d orbital, electrons get paired. So electrons get progressively paired. So as the d structures are progressively get paired, so the electronic repulsion takes place. One thing, and another thing, this d orbitals shield. This d orbital shield the outermost s electron. So this d orbital shield the outermost s electron. So the more number of the number of electrons in d subset increases, the shielding effect becomes more. So in this way, so from manganese, then suppose iron, then cobalt, and up to nickel. So what happens? The screening effect in this case becomes more. As the screening effect in this case becomes more, it counterbalance the effective nuclear charge. In this way, the atomic radius remains constant. And towards the end of the group, towards copper and zinc, again it increases. So because more number of electrons again added. So from scandium to manganese, it generally decreases and then remains almost constant because of a screening effect. of more number of d electrons. The d electrons screen more towards this outermost s orbital after the valence electron, and towards the end of the group at the copper and zinc, as more number of electrons are there, electronic repulsion takes place more. Due to more electronic repulsion, it increases. So the atomic radius first decrease, then remains constant, then increase. So if we draw a graph, generally it becomes like this, first decrease, then remains almost constant, then increase. Same also for all other cases, that is your for 4D series and 5. Next come to another property, that is ionic radii. So the ionic radii also follows the same trend that of atomic radii. Okay, the ionic radii also follows the same trend as that of atomic radii. In the same way, first it decrease, then remains almost constant, then it increase. Another thing, the transition elements, they form different types of ions with different oxidation state. So, for example, iron exists as Fe2 plus, Fe3 plus. Copper exists as Cu plus 1 and Cu plus 2. So, if we consider for any element or any element which possesses different ions, then ionic radius of ionic radius of that ion which has higher oxidation state has lower ionic radius than that of the other. So in this way, Fe3 plus has smaller size than that of Fe2 plus. So ion having higher charge has smaller radius than that of the ion having less charge. Okay. And if we consider about the same charge or different elements with the same charge, then its ionic radius generally decrease. So this also decrease when we go from left to right. Okay. Next come to another property, that is ionization enthalpy. Ionization enthalpy. So the transition elements they have generally higher value of ionization enthalpy than that of S block element and lower value of ionization enthalpy than that of P block elements. So from P block elements they have high value of ionization potential, and from that of S block elements they have lower value of ionization potential. Okay. So but when we move along the period, that is from scandium to zinc, generally the ionization potential increases. So the increase is very less. That is due to and the increase is not regular. In some cases it increases more and in some cases it increases less. But generally as we move in a series from left to right, then its ionization potential increases. Okay, so ionization potential generally it increases. And that is due to increase in nuclear charge. And towards the end of the group, actually this ionic radius remains constant. So this ionization enthalpy depends on nuclear charge, atomic radius also. So the atomic radius generally remains constant, and towards the end of the group, this atomic radius again increases, but at that time it has stable configuration. But then the nuclear charge is also high. So the nuclear charge is high. So in this way the ionization enthalpy increases. Okay. Next come to density. So the transition elements have as their transition elements have higher value of densities. So they possesses high densities. The transition elements possesses high densities. So there is increase in atomic mass, and in some cases, as you know, the atomic radius decreases. Atomic radius decreases means the atomic volume also decreases, but the mass increases. As the mass increases and the volume decreases, in this way density of transition elements increases from left to right in a series. So the density increases. Density increases. So in between the elements which are present in between groups, that is your group 7, 8, group 7, group 8, group 9, these elements have generally higher densities than that of the starting element, that is 3, 4, 5, or towards the end of the group elements. Among all elements, all transition elements, osmium has highest density, and that of scandium has, among the all transition elements, scandium has the lower value of densities. Okay. Next come to another property, that is metallic character. Metallic character. So due to presence of unpaired electrons, due to presence of unpaired electrons in d orbitals, due to presence of unpaired electrons in d orbitals and vacant, in some cases vacant d orbitals, due to presence of unpaired electrons in d orbitals and vacant d orbitals, these transition metal atoms, they form the transition metal atoms, they form metallic bond, they form metallic bond and also covalent bond. They form metallic bond and covalent bond. So due to more number of vacant d orbitals, they form the covalent bond and this metallic bond. So due to which this metallic character increases. Okay. So all the transition elements are metals except mercury, which is a liquid. All other are solids at room temperature. Next, so this metallic character increases up to maximum number of unpaired electron. Up to maximum number of unpaired electron. In this way, if we consider in 3D series, then its metallic character increases up to chromium, and then this metallic character decreases. As the electrons get paired up, the metallic bond formation generally decreases, and this metallic character we can say generally somehow this decreases, but all are metals. Okay, so the metallic character increases up to this, and due to this increase in metallic character, these metals have generally metallic luster. So these are malleable, ductile, and some are, and these are also more brittle than that of S block elements. And they also exhibit metallic character due to their low value of ionization enthalpy. So vacant d orbital, unpaired electron, another low ionization enthalpy. Due to these three factors, these show metallic character, and these are malleable, ductile, and some are brittle in nature, and they have metallic luster. These are good conductor of heat and electricity. So these are this metallic character. Okay. So due to this metallic character, as the metallic character increases towards the middle of this series and middle of the series, in this way the melting point and boiling point also increases. Okay. Next come to another factor, that is melting point and boiling point. Melting point and boiling point. So, as these elements exhibit metallic character, strong metallic bond, in this way their melting point and boiling point increases. Okay, so at the and this melting point and boiling point also depends on the number of unpaired electrons and vacant outer orbitals. Vacant outer orbitals. So due to vacant outer orbitals or unpaired electrons, they form this metallic bond. Due to this metallic bond, they possesses high melting point and boiling point. If the number of unpaired electrons is more, then more is its metallic character and more is its melting point and boiling point. So in 3D series, chromium has highest melting point. Chromium has highest melting point. And similarly, the element which is present below chromium in 4D series, that is molybdenum, it has also highest melting point in 4D series. And among in 5D series, the tungsten has highest melting point. So towards the middle of this group, middle of this series, the melting point increases and then it decreases due to the pairing of electrons. As the pairing of electrons takes place, then repulsions among the electrons takes place. So as the repulsion among the electrons takes place and the metallic character also decreases. In this way, mercury has lowest melting point, hence exists as a liquid at room temperature. It exists as a liquid at room temperature, while tungsten has the highest melting point. Okay. So next come to another property, that is magnetic behavior. Magnetic behavior. So the transition elements exhibit magnetic behavior. These exhibit, general maximum exhibit paramagnetism. So they exhibit paramagnetism, and these compounds are, the elements are paramagnetic in nature. These compounds are paramagnetic in nature. So these compounds are paramagnetic in nature or they show paramagnetism. Why? That is due to the presence of unpaired electrons in their valency shell. Unpaired electrons. That is also due to unpaired electrons. So as the electrons is a charged particle, it moves around itself. So as it moves around itself, it creates a small magnetic field. In this way, if the electrons are unpaired, then it shows magnetic behavior. But if the electrons are paired, then the magnetic field created by one electron is cancelled by the magnetic field created by another electron, which are in opposite spin. In this way, if the electrons are paired, these are generally diamagnetic, like zinc, cadmium, mercury, and all other elements of these have generally more number of unpaired electrons, hence these are magnetic, paramagnetic in nature. And this paramagnetism, this magnetic susceptibility, magnetic moment can be determined by the formula mu equal to n into n plus 2 root over Bm, where n is number of unpaired electrons. But in this case, iron, cobalt and nickel, iron, cobalt and nickel, these show strong magnetic behavior, and these are generally ferromagnetic in nature. So this shown strongly magnetic in nature. So strongly magnetized. So these shown ferromagnetic. These are ferromagnetic in nature. Okay, so they show ferromagnetism or these are ferromagnetic in nature. Next come to another properties of transition element, that is complex formation. Complex formation. So the transition elements have the tendency to form complexes. The transition elements have the tendency to form complexes. So why they form complexes? Because they have a small cation size. Because of a small cation size, high nuclear charge, high nuclear charge. So they possesses small cationic size, high nuclear charge, and variable oxidation. Okay, so small cation size and in another here various oxidation state and ability to achieve effective atomic number. So they have, due to their small cationic size, high nuclear charge and another vacant d orbitals. Vacant d orbitals. Due to presence of this vacant d orbitals, these transition elements generally form complexes. Okay, so due to the presence of small cation size and high nuclear charge and vacant d orbitals show that different ions or molecules, they can donate the pair of electron to these vacant d orbitals to form coordinate bond. So the vacant d orbitals are there, so maximum ions and molecules donate the pair of electron to these vacant d orbitals to form coordinate bond. And so due to all these an effective atomic number, they have ability to achieve the effective atomic number. Due to all these form complex compounds. Okay, for example, iron forms complex compounds like potassium ferrocyanide, cobalt form complexes CO, NH3, 6, Cl3, hexaamine cobalt chloride, copper forms complexes Cu, NH3, 4, SO4. So all transition elements generally form these complexes, maximum number of complexes. But zinc, cadmium, mercury, as they have complete d subshell, they form less complexes, the less number of complexes. And here we have discussed another, they show different oxidation state. Next come to another property of transition elements, that is variable oxidation states. Variable oxidation states. So the transition elements possesses variable oxidation state. They form different compounds with different charge. Okay, so they show variable oxidation state. And why this is? So we know the general configuration is NS1 to 2 and N minus 1D 1 to 10. So between this energy gap between Ns and N-1D is very less. As very less, so some electrons from this s orbital participate and some electrons of this d orbitals also participate while formation of compounds. So in this way, due to this participation of both Ns and N-1d electrons, they possesses variable oxidation states. So generally they some possesses lower oxidation state, and their lower oxidation state is only due to the lower oxidation state is due to participation of Ns electrons, and the higher oxidation state is due to participation of Ns and N-1d electrons. So due to participation of this, generally they possesses different oxidation states. For example, if we consider about this 3D series, that is scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, copper and zinc. It has +2. So the +2 is less stable. Generally it exhibits +3, except the scandium all exhibit oxidation state of +2 due to participation of Ns electrons. Due to participation of Ns electron, all exhibit the oxidation state of +2. But as after removal of 2, only one electron in D is there. In this way, this +2 is less stable. So in this way, it exhibits the +3 oxidation state. This is the more stable. Then this variable oxidation state, it increases up to manganese. Manganese shows the various oxidation states of +2, +3, +4, +5, +6 and +7. It shows all types of oxidation state. While iron possesses +2, +3, cobalt possesses +2 and +3, copper possesses +2 and +1, as this electronic configuration is Ns1 and N-1d10, and chromium also possesses +2 and +3, vanadium +2, +3 also exhibit oxidation state of +5, titanium exhibit +2 and +4. In this oxidation state increases up to the middle, it increases up to the middle and then decreases. So chromium +2, +3, +6. So oxidation state increases up to the middle. As the electrons get paired, in this way it again decreases. Okay. So this is our variable oxidation state. Next come to another property of transition elements, that is colored compound, formation of colored compounds. Formation of colored compounds. So transition elements form complexes due to their vacant d orbitals, and they have the ability to affect effective atomic number, high nuclear charge, high oxidation state. Due to all these, they form complexes. And another thing, due to presence of unpaired electrons in these d orbitals, due to presence of unpaired electrons in the d orbitals, these transition elements generally form colored compounds, generally they form colored compounds in solid state as well as in aqueous solution. Okay, so what happens? So if all the electrons are generally paired, if the electrons are paired, then no transition of electron takes place. So what happens? So these d orbitals, due to presence of some ligands, generally these d orbitals splits up into two sets, that is T2g set and Eg set. So these d orbitals, the 5 d orbitals of d subshell splits into two sets, that is Eg set and T2g set of orbitals in presence of some ligands, either water or ammonia or etc. So due to presence of some ligands, it splits up into two, and electron transition takes place from one d to another d. So in case of d block elements, when they form the compounds, the d orbitals splits into two sets, that is T2g set and Eg set. An electron transition takes place from T2g to Eg set or from Eg to T2g set. So when electron transition takes place from this T2g set to Eg set, at that time these electrons absorb some light from visible region and emits the complementary color. Okay. So due to presence of unpaired electrons in d orbitals and due to this d-d transition, so within the same subshell, one d orbital to another d orbital transition takes place. That is called d-d transition. These transition elements exhibit color. Okay. So due to presence of unpaired electrons and due to d-d transition, the electron excitation takes place from one d orbitals to another d orbital within the same subshell by observing some lights from visible region and it emits its complementary color. For example, there is a color wheel is given, that is violet, blue and green. Green ultimate complementary color, red, violet has yellow and blue has orange. So in this set, if it absorbs blue color, then it appears orange. If it absorbs green color, then appears red. If it appears violet, then appears yellow. And in between this violet and blue, it appears between orange and yellow. If it is between blue and green, color appears between orange and red. In this way, it forms different colored compounds. Okay, so that is due to presence of unpaired electron and the transition of electron within the d subshell, that is d-d transition. Next come to another property of transition elements, that is they form catalyst. These transition elements generally used as catalysts. Generally these are used as catalyst. So why they used as catalyst? So first thing, same, due to presence of unpaired electron and another, they possesses variable oxidation states. Due to possessing of variable oxidation state, the nature to possess variable oxidation state, and another, they provide more surface area. In this way, these are used as catalysts in various reactions. So they have the ability to combine with the reactant with one oxidation state and combine with the product with another oxidation state. In this way, the catalyst combine with the reactant with one oxidation state, then form some activity complex, then form another product with another oxidation state. So in this way, as they possess the variable oxidation state, so they have ability to combine with the reactants and products with different oxidation states. In this way, they used as catalyst. And also they provide more surface area. That's why these are used as catalyst. For example, iron is used as catalyst in Haber's process for synthesis of ammonia. Similarly, platinum and vanadium pentoxide are used as catalyst in contact process for preparation of sulfuric acid. Okay, so in this way, and nickel is used as catalyst for hydrogenation of hydrocarbons or oils. Okay, and palladium, copper, these are also different catalysts used in various reactions. Okay, various chemical reactions as well as various biological reactions also, the transition elements used as catalyst. Next, they have another property to form alloys. These transition elements have another properties to form alloys. So they form alloys. As you know, they have similar atomic size. Similar atomic size. As so properties formation of alloys, as they have similar atomic size. So in place of one atom can substitute another atom from its lattice point. In this way they can form alloys. For example, suppose some atoms of copper are there, and copper and zinc has suppose similar size. So these are suppose the atom of copper and zinc has some similar size. So copper and nickel has suppose some similar size. So in place of copper, one nickel atom remain here. Suppose zinc is there, or zinc atom is remain here. So nickel atom can remain here. In this way, in the lattice point of one atom, another atom can substitute. So they can form alloys, and these alloys are two types, that is ferrous alloy, non-ferrous alloy. In ferrous alloy, if iron is one of the component, that is known as your ferrous alloy, and if iron is not the constituent of this alloy, that is known as your non-ferrous alloy. And the alloy of mercury are known as amalgam. Some examples of some alloys are brass, bronze, German silver. So these are some alloys of copper. Okay, so transition elements generally form alloys. And another properties of these transition elements that are they form interstitial compounds. So in case of alloys, in the lattice point of one atom, another atom substituted. But in case of interstitial compounds, after the arrangement of atoms in the lattice sites, what are the voids present? In that void, if some other elements are present, then that form your interstitial compounds. Suppose there is the arrangement of atoms in this way, and arrangement of atoms of D block is in this way, and there are some interstitial places here. Here there are some interstitial voids, and in this place, if some other atoms are remain, then it forms a solid compound that are known as your interstitial compounds. And generally, transition elements form interstitial compounds with boron, carbon, and nitrogen. Okay, generally form interstitial compound with these elements. So these are some special characteristics of transition elements.